And what's the most compelling? Oh, good morning. Hit that like button, Jesse. Well, thank you very much. In addition to hitting that like button, you're going to watch me do some technical support while we're up and running because, of
From
course...
the tallest bell towers, he showed...
Yeah, okay, thank you. Of course, once again, you know, you line everything up and you want to get things working properly and all that sort of stuff. You do all your checks and balances and you do all the... I have a series of checklists I go through to start here, so of course that didn't work. Let me delete the incorrect video that is up there. Delete that, more actions, delete forever. Yes, see? The encoder almost got me this time, but I finally figured it out. Good morning, and a good morning to all of you. Let me just get back into the chat here and see you all. Today is going to be lots of fun. Rocky isn't here today. Sorry, he's still being a jerk. Does Rocky work for Freedom Corp? Is that what's going on? Did he get a job there? Good morning, Megan. Everybody else, good morning as well. Always exciting, if not entertaining. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for everybody for all the support and comments. And I want to say to you, good morning. And I hope you're having an amazing morning. And welcome to the Freedom Coffee live stream. This is the place, I think this is one of the few places where we honestly work on celebrating the freedoms we achieved and we fought for. And, you know, we brainstorm to share ideas and information and some truth that will help us ensure we maintain our freedoms in the future. And how do we do that? Well, step one starts by having coffee or tea, if you rather. And we all let's all gather around and come in closer, please. And why do we need coffee? Because change starts with an idea. And you can't have solid ideas if you're stuck in a state of anxiety. So when I take my sips of coffee, I feel all the anxiety and stress and noise of the world is just flowing out of my body, and then I can focus on being in a positive state. You want to do one with me? Okay, on the count of three. On the count of three, Jesse, I see you have your coffee with you. On the count of three, everybody take a sip of your coffee. 1, 2, 3. Doesn't that feel good? All right. So, lots of stuff going on, and thank you, Jesse, for saying that. Please pound the like button. As Adam Meister says, pound that like button, he says frequently. Pound the like button and like, share, and subscribe. You know, something interesting. This week, somebody sent me a message that they want to send me money through PayPal. Just somebody I'm doing some work with, right? And I had to respond, oh no, I'm banned from PayPal. Did you know that? Did you know that I'm still banned from PayPal? Apparently, I guess I'm do I want to say those words on YouTube because I'm going to get banned and whatever. Apparently, I'm not a nice person, I guess, because I focused on peace, love, unity, and freedom in Ottawa a couple of years ago. So PayPal has decided that peace, love, unity, and freedom is their enemy. Delete your PayPal accounts if you got them. Just get rid of it. You know, I've gone now 2 years without PayPal. You don't need it. I mean, this is the case for Bitcoin, obviously, but you have e-transfers and all sorts of other means, TransferWise, all that sort of stuff. So you don't really need that. Danny Hungry Trucker. So Danny has been running a Facebook group called Freedom Accountability, where he's doing his best to try to research all the kind of the bad actors politically that have gotten involved, not just in the Freedom Convoy, but other stuff. And he was on something called Maverick Media, which I don't know what that is, but he was on there. And I think that's part of the Freedom Corp apparatus, but I'm not sure because apparently they spent a lot of time smearing myself, and like that's a good litmus test. If they were during Ottawa smearing myself and a few other key people that weren't tied to the political parties or working for them, and they get smeared, that's a good indicator that they may be a stakeholder, right? Remember that word, stakeholder. talk more about that in the future. This idea I want to get to, because this is going to play into what we're going to discuss today, is very important. The idea of propaganda and brainwashing, which is, we see it all over the world today. We see it from alternative media and legacy media and influencers and all that sort of stuff. Some people are paid bad actors, some people are just misguided, and some people are genuine, right? But this is a very, very important important point to understand. Sorry. The brainwashing doesn't come from your opposition. Like, pro-Trudeau propaganda, if you're on the conservative side, doesn't work on you, because they're not trying to brainwash you. You're not the target audience. The brainwashing always comes from your own team and your own side. That's very, very important. That's why a lot of people, when you see a lot of the people who are skeptical of government institutions and stuff, because the government is supposed to be on the side of the citizens. So that holds true, that the people on your side are the ones who brainwash you. And the same is evidenced in politics. So we're going to get we're going to get to that in a little bit, but that is the political side of it. Okay. So, Florida, this is very, very interesting. I know some of you will understand it. Maverick is shite. Okay, well, thanks, Jesse, I guess. Jesse, you're the best. You're so awesome. By the way, everybody, congratulate Jesse for coming back to to my Discord. So thank you, Jesse. You were missed, and everybody's happy to have you back there. All right, so Florida, and this is kind of tangentially related, but this is important. Okay, Florida bans kids from social media. There's a number of stories running around with that headline. I don't know if it's passed through. It passed, I guess, a first reading and was being put to the floor to be modified, whatever it was. Anyways, they have a social media ban for kids in the state of Florida. I would argue that that's too far. Again, we're now going too far, man. What up, Ryan? Good to see you, brother. I don't understand this. It's so frustrating to watch this. The problem is not social media. The social media is a means of telecommunication. It happens to be on a centralized server, and instead of just exclusively DMs, you can post people publicly. That is not the problem. The problem is TikTok. TikTok is the problem. The new sponsor of Fox News, by the way. TikTok is the problem. And, the primary donor to Rand Paul owns $20 billion in TikTok stock, or is it 10-cent talk, whatever it is. And, well, lo and behold, we discussed this on a previous stream, that Rand Paul, who I like most of his ideas, but put forward, killed a bill that would have banned TikTok, which is it's a brainwashing operation. I like how Scott described it. It's a ticking time bomb. It's in the name. It's called TikTok. Boom. Right? It is poison for younger people and for maybe low IQ people, and people are just, I don't know, not intellectually engaged. That's what it's there for. It's there for the purpose of brainwashing people. But banning all social media, no, now we're taking the pendulum, we're swinging way too far. No, just focus on the problem. Just focus, don't worry about the lobbyists. Focus on actually solving the problem, which is a problem with our politics all over the place. And, I wish conservatives would just stop banning stuff. Stop it. I don't know if you've noticed, but for the past several years, since we've gone full postmodernism, Canadians, conservatives in general, have become the new counterculture. And you see many of these people online, many of these people who you've followed over all this for the past several years, who comment on politics, who are slowly being captured and becoming stakeholders for the political apparatus, or the machine, which I try to talk here and dissect, because during Freedom Convoy, I was involved specifically in the machine working against something. But the point is, conservatives were, up until recently, had become the new counterculture. Is that over? Is that what we're watching? Are we watching conservatives no longer be the counterculture solution to the postmodern extremism we've been dealing with? I don't know. I hope not. I don't want conservatives to turn into the garbage from the 1990s that was censoring my video games and my music and all that sort of stuff. That's what I'm worried we're going to go towards. This is why we need to get conservatives to be more libertarian in their approach, which is why I keep trying to tell people in the Western world, look to Argentina and Javier Milei. That's the solution. That is the sweet spot where you can get people across the spectrum once they become informed of. That's how you can get everybody together. It's not by conservatives imitating liberals and putting on the liberal skin suit. That doesn't work either, right? And the thing is, all the excessive banning, that becomes kryptonite for centrists, for people who would vote for them. Because believe it or not, there are liberals who would vote for conservative parties when they disagree with their party. Most people are not so binary in their political views. But the excessive banning on stuff, that's gonna destroy all of the accomplishments that they've achieved over the past decade. The problem is TikTok. The problem is not an entire avenue of telecommunications in the private sector. Just my perspective. So conservatives, please don't go too far. We all know what the problems are. We all agree what the problems are. The normies are just waking up now. They're just starting to wake up and realize there's a problem, and they're coming to us and asking, what are the problems? Explain this to us. Don't respond with, well, we're banning all social media. Like, you want to make younger people hate conservatives? That's the way to do it. Can it be considered counterculture once it becomes dominant? Ryan says. That's true. Well, and that is a long philosophical conversation over a couple of pints in a pub, mate. And maybe we'll do that soon, right? But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Has anyone noticed that most people speak out of both sides of their mouths or their asses? Makes me crazy. They can't make up their minds. There's a lot of that. There's definitely, you have to look at where the incentives are coming from, right? People will speak to their incentives. My personal incentive is truth, so I just try to focus on that. I am not, like so many the grifters that sabotaged Convoy. It was so great. I remember Rowan was doing a video going through all of them. Like, look at this guy. Doesn't work. Doesn't have a job. What, he can't go get a job? I got fired. I went and got another job. What about this guy? Tom Marazza, can't work. Can't get a job, right? Or this other Fed McKenzie, can't get a job either. Guys can't work, right? So people like myself and others and like him, we have our own lives outside of politics. We have our own jobs. We have our own gigs. And that's why we're not so susceptible to the ideological capture of the political class to their frustration. Because what they always do is they'll dangle the carrot in front of you. So, maybe if you kind of played ball, we can get you running, get you a nomination. Maybe we can get you acclaimed and get you a seat. I remember somebody said that to me. Maybe we can get you a seat in Parliament. Just stick it through for a few years. I'm like, I don't want a seat in Parliament. What are you talking about? It's the worst job in the world. Ran in one election campaign. No, thank you, man. No, thank you. You guys are so corrupt. And so that's not one particular party. It's all of them. It's just the system and how it operates. So I do have some sympathy to people who are trapped within the system. But, yeah, no thanks. No thanks. Speaking of corruption and BS, Rebel News. This past week, the 29th, so 4 days ago. Sorry, I've been in the truck. I was going to do a stream during the week, but I got to get the wheels turning because I've been so busy with so many other things. But on the 29th, that was the 2-year anniversary of the press conference to nowhere sort of thing. Not the press conference, the Rebel News interview to nowhere. So just to set the stage, I've talked a little bit about this before, but for those of you who don't know, those of you who are new here, we did our first press conference at the Freedom Convoy on the 29th. That was a press conference that I banned all the legacy media from, but the subverters and co-opters went and chased the legacy media because I guess, there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. We'll get into it another date. So any press conference you saw in legacy media from that point, that was hosted by the people who are trying to sabotage the convoy. So the official pressers, the first one was on the 29th. We had a 2.5 hour long press conference. 2.5 hours long. It wasn't the usual 15 minutes that a scripted press conference is, that the legacy, not the legacy media doesn't like that, but the political class likes. We did a 2.5 hour long interview, and at the very end, it was myself, Chris Barber, and Tamara Leach. Chris Barber ran out. He had something to do. I don't know, maybe he had to move his truck, and or maybe he had to talk to his relative, Brad Wall, how about the next step in subverting us. But anyways, so he had to run out, and it was just myself and Tamara left, and we're talking to a couple of the journalists, and I got a message to my phone from Alexa from Rebel News saying, can you do, we missed the press conference, but could you do an interview? And I said, yeah, sure. You know, they said to Tamara, wait, don't go anywhere. Let's do an interview right now. Rebel News is coming. She said, okay, how long? I said, I don't know, hour, half hour is what I kind of predicted. So Alexa, Mocha, and Lincoln showed up, set up their cameras. We did a just under an hour long interview, and it was 50 minutes approximately, give or take a minute or two. And that was us, and in our entire, it was the idea of why we were in Ottawa. Our entire case put forward, peace, love, unity, and freedom. We're not here to be adversarial towards the government. We're just here to talk to them. All the positive, good messages that would reach all sides, right? And so that was that press conference. And Alexa then took the video, went to start to work on it. I followed up with her at night. She said she's translated it into, she's translating it into French as well, because it's important to get everybody. Great. And the next morning, it wasn't uploaded. And the next afternoon, it wasn't uploaded. And the next evening, it wasn't uploaded. And this was very important, the context. This was the biggest news story in the world. I was getting thousands and thousands of messages per hour to all the inboxes of all the feeds, you know, all the Twitter feeds and email addresses, because I was managing multiple accounts, trying to get the word out. That's how Freedom Convoy went pretty viral. And Rebel News decided to spike it. Spike it meaning just kill it, kill the story. Rebel News killed the exclusive interview to the biggest news story on the planet about how we were in Ottawa trying to build this peaceful atmosphere to push back against these temporary authoritarian measures in Ottawa. We were there speaking for you, and Rebel News took that exclusive interview and buried it. I'm sure, and then they started the, helpconvoytruckers.com bullshit that they do all the time. And by the way, none of us have seen a penny out of that. So that was the anniversary on January 29th of this week. So I posted a picture on Twitter that I took. I sat there, Tamara was right beside me, and Alexa was there, and then the others were on the other side. I very quickly took my picture and took a snapshot of us there together. Just there would be an historical record. I should have been recording the audio. I should have done that. But I made the mistake of trusting Rebel News, and we'll never do that again. Anyways, that's a whole other issue. Neither should you. So, and I'm sure there's some people watching who are getting very angry right now. That's called cognitive dissonance. That's because I've now, we hold a belief system and a trust system, and then all of a sudden somebody comes and gives you a concrete example of why you should abandon that trust system. And what happens? You get angry. That's just how humans work. So it's not just you. So if you're getting angry, that's okay. I understand. That's cognitive dissonance, and over time that will pass. And just look at this issue more and more frequently, and then you'll realize, okay, yeah, maybe there's something to it. Willie Gibson was discussing the co-opt counterculture 20 years ago. His novel Pattern Recognition is about a cool hunter who would find the counterculture to commodify. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, it's called, can you do me a favor, Tinker? Can you send me a DM on Twitter or something? Send me the name of that book, and I will put it in my listen to reading list in the truck. Good morning, Robin. Robin is here. Everybody say good morning to Robin. Robin is pretty awesome and a good friend. So, next, so I want to get into, this is going to talk about cognitive dissonance and making people upset. So right now, there's something going on. Once again, the Freedom Convoy people, the protesters, whatever you want to call it. I don't mean the political, those of us that were there for good intentions. The people who are on the ground protesting, the people got arrested and beaten and all that sort of stuff. Once again, it looks like the political convoy, grifters, and that whole political apparatus is getting set to exploit the poor people that were arrested and beaten and all that sort of stuff. Why? Well, what they have is a team of, well, it's not really, there's lawyers part of it, but that's another issue. There is there are phone calls going around to people all over who, I guess they donated to some of these community causes. And now what they're doing is they're going to use that list. So if you went to go donate to, I don't know, a certain person, trucker, whatever, and a group was helping this person and you gave them your phone number and email, you're now getting a call from these same political trash to exploit you. And what they're doing is they're telling people that because of the ruling that we discussed in the last stream from Justice Mosley, inferring that the freezing of the bank accounts was a violation of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, people are getting a telephone call saying, you have 30 days. This is your time to sue. Sue now. Give me the best call I ever heard of. One of the people got a call from a lawyer tied to these organizations saying, pay me $15,000 in retainer and contingency. Now, I'm no lawyer. I'm pretty sure that's illegal in Canada, that you can't do that. You have to either a retainer or contingency. A retainer is when you pay a lawyer upfront to take your case. So people are affiliated with these groups that have been hosting, freedom fighters are calling all of you saying, you got 30 days because now is the time you have to sue. Come join me, join my class action suit, and we're going to sue the government for millions of dollars. All right. So there's a couple of problems. First, this is not true. This is an absolute lie. It's in appeal right now. You don't do anything until after the appeal. So this is a bunch of political trash grifters, once again exploiting people, trying to get them to either pay a retainer or sign up on a class action lawsuit. Because the beneficiary of a class action lawsuit is the lawyer. That's who the biggest beneficiary, because they get fees out of this. And class action suits, because they go on for so long, years and years, 5, 7, 9 years long, they make, that's almost a decade worth of guaranteed legal fees. That's why they do it. So they're telling people you got 30 days. That's a lie. It's in appeal. You don't do anything until after the appeal is heard, because if the appeal is successful and it's overturned, which I don't think that's going to happen, if the appeal is successful, then you don't have a case. Now you've just wasted all your money on a case that is super, super thin, right? And by the way, a lot of people don't know this, I guess. An appeal is not another trial. All it is, it's a review of process to see if the judge or entities around the proceedings violated some sort of legal precedent or whatever. That's all it is. It's just a check on the judge, essentially. It's a good way to look at it. And with Justice Mosley, from what I understand of his reputation, which I knew of before, I knew of Justice Mosley when I was producing the Quiggin report, because Justice Mosley is the one who grilled Quiggin to get him certified as a court expert. He has a very, very a very strong reputation and very well respected amongst both the appellant court and the superior court. So the point of this is, no, you don't have to file a class action in 30 days. If somebody's telling you that, they are lying to you, and they're trying to pump you as a political pawn that they can raise money for. Now, who started this action telling people that you have 30 days to file a class action suit to go after the government. It's an organization called Veterans for Freedom. Interesting. Once you know the players, then the mechanics of all of this stuff, how it goes together, is very, very easy to predict. They're as easy to predict as Justin Trudeau once you understand postmodern theory. So Veterans for Freedom, that's the organization that Hurt Locker Tom is a part of. For those of you who don't know, you can read Diverge Media's article on Hurt Locker Tom and Veterans for Freedom and how they helped sell us out and then pumped you all for money, for donations, exploited you for money. That's also the organization that Tamara Leach, out of nowhere, came to me one day and said, I asked her, said, I'm hearing all these rumors about veterans groups. What are you talking about? She says, I just thought it would be really good if we had, the money that was coming in for the truckers, we gave anything left over, like there was going to be anything left over, to the veterans. And I said to her, I'm not sure that's a great idea, and I'm not sure how any one person is making decisions all on their own. That's not what we have a board for, right? And and I got, maybe you're right, but I just thought it was really good, whatever. Okay, so that's why she's been wearing the Veterans for Freedom shirt and hat all the time, right? Because that's the organization. They were going to take the donations, if anything was left over from a court proceeding, to funnel those donations into that organization and capture them for themselves. Also, it's interesting, you see this kid that popped up all over the place, Jason Alexander. I don't know who he is. He's like I don't know. People are trying to make him popular for some reason. He was on Jordan Peterson's podcast and whatever. I didn't listen to it, so I don't really know anything about it. So I don't know. Could be a good kid, could be not. I have no idea. His father is the head of Veterans for Freedom. Once you know the players, it's very easy to understand the mechanics of the political machine and how it works. So when you see these types of groups reaching out to people and trying to capture them and say, we're going to make you millionaires, we're going to sue the government, we're going to teach Trudeau a lesson and make millions of dollars, we don't have punitive damages in the same punitive law in Canada like we do the United States. So this is why, I produce Not on Record with Joseph Neuberger, who is a criminal lawyer here. I actually have another podcast that's coming online soon with another law firm in a completely different area of law, who actually is in this area on certain types of cases. And I also know quite a few lawyers. So I've put some words out to people, and they've told me, first you wait till the appeal, and then after the appeal, then you start looking at, are we going to sue the government? But this is likely to go to the Supreme Court of Canada anyways, which will take 5 to 7 years. Robin O says, Hurt Locker Tom, he's still trying to be relevant. Yes, he is. They keep trying to prop him up, despite the article of Diverge Media and my testimony at the POEC that pretty much nuked him and exposed him for what he was. Which is why they went into overdrive, trying to attack me and other people, because, the party's over. It's so good. Anyways, nobody has a 30-day deadline. It's an appeal. Everybody calm down. If you get a trash bag lawyer calling you, hang up the phone. That's not how this all works. I and other people are talking to credible lawyers. You won't know who they are, but I will tell you, if something materializes, there will be an opportunity for people to go after the government in a class action lawsuit, but completely removed from any of this political garbage that sold out the trucker convoy. I'm not doing anything with any of those people. And in fact, some of the lawyers I know really weren't on side with the convoy. They've since evolved their thinking. Those are the people you want, because you want the people who are going to argue actual law, not airheads. They're going to go in front of the whole world and say, Justin Trudeau, maybe it's time you resign. It was the most cringe episode of this entire convoy. It was so pathetic, because that was not a legal argument. Sorry, guys, but that's the way it is. He continually gets arrested for protesting. Who gets Save the Kids, Jason Alexander, Save the Kids. Okay. He continually gets arrested for protesting. Oh yeah, they're looking for that magic moment of when Tamara went and got arrested after she asked to be arrested repeatedly, so they can fundraise around it. I mean, the police are not stupid. They know how this works. It frustrates the hell out of them, and it frustrates them even more when it's happening on both the left and the right. Okay, so just stay away from these trash bags. Veterans for Freedom, that is a completely controlled Conservative Party entity that is used to brainwash you and then launder all the donations to themselves so nobody gets anything. So keep away from them. Keep away from any lawyers who call you. This is not the time. The appeal is going to take, somebody told me it could take a year and a half to 2 years. So you have a year and a half to 2 years before you even start thinking about it, right? Unless I don't think it'll be rushed in the process. I don't think so. But what's good about it is it's about, they're focusing specifically on the freezing of the bank accounts and or at least the ruling focused on freezing the bank accounts, which is a violation of the Charter and Rights and Freedoms, which is what I and other people may go after if we have a case. And what I was saying with punitive, you know, when people get sued in the United States and they win millions of dollars and blah, 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 you notice you never hear that in Canada? There's a reason for that, because that doesn't happen in Canada. That's not the Canadian legal system, which is what we've discussed on a few episodes of Not on Record, explaining the differences between the Canadian and American legal system. I think there's a cap for punitive here, and we call it something else, if I'm not mistaken, just like we call depositions and discoveries different thing. We call it discovery, they call it depositions. But anyways, I think there's a cap of $50,000 or something. So, but now you have to throw in a pile of money to sue the government. And, you know, if you're one of the people who got abused and beaten and all that sort of stuff, you're going to have to, it's going to cost you $50,000 to go to court, $30,000, $50,000, whoever your legal counsel is. At least this is what I'm learning in this whole process. And if you get a ruling, if you win, then you're going to get at most, the cap is $50,000 or something like that. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm around them a lot. So I'm learning as the process goes on. So don't buy into this nonsense. If everybody calls you with suing Justin Trudeau at gmail.com, just ignore it. Keep as far away from that as possible. Don't become a victim yet again. All right. Something else very interesting that happened this week. I was in the car and this came about. Crazy to take that long. Cheryl, I agree, but that's just the process of how things are here, you know? When the courts get tied up with, I don't know, nonsense BS, constitutional challenges that you have been exploited to fundraise for, that they know are going to go nowhere, and when they lose, the rage farming starts again, saying, our freedoms are under control, give us even more money. That's what is going on. Why did Tamara turn herself in? Once they have you in prison, they won't let you go. I'm thinking Azan Snowden, Leonard Tamara turning herself in scared me. Well, that's the idea. There was it benefited Freedom Corp or the political class on a number of planes. Firstly, the first rule in activism, this is why they keep having that Jason Alexander kid trying to get arrested, is the person who gets arrested in front of the media camera, that's the person who gets the money. They don't care about glory. They care about the money. That's where they can funnel money from, because now they have an image and they can rage farm around all of you saying, look how oppressive the government is, right? And listen, I'm not on the side of the government, obviously. I'm part of this whole freedom, I was part of the Freedom Convoy as well, you know, from the messaging standpoint. And the other thing is she didn't tell any of us she was going to do that, right? So right away, suspect. She told us, that's the day she came to give me the hug in the picture. She comes, gives me a hug, goes over to the ARC, talks to everybody, saying, I'm going to go talk to my husband or whatever they're going to do. And then, you know, an hour and a half later, she's on Facebook doing a crying video saying Justin Trudeau has kids too. And I'm like, what the what are you doing? We just spent the past 3 weeks. Don't do any media until we have a strategy around it. Just go out of nowhere. And then an hour later, she's on the street with Danny Bulford telling the police, you can arrest us if you want us. And I heard this excuse somebody posted saying, they heard that there was a warrant for them, and they were just asking. Excuse me, they all had police liaison officers. They could have just texted their police liaison officers, they had done many times before, saying, is there a warrant out for my arrest? And they would get a response. No. That's it. Anyways. So, and the third reason is that's an excellent way of putting an end to the protest, right? And I'm sure she would be willing to admit it because she was very frustrated, and I understand why she was frustrated. I didn't realize, how many... I thought she was just talking out of both sides of her mouth. Turns out she's talking a whole bunch of different directions. But I get it. So you got yourself into that situation. And how many times, I think 3 separate occasions, when she was up in the Sheraton in my hotel room and some people were asking her for stuff, and she would fire back saying, tell James Peloso, TBOF, by the way, who deleted their website this week. Tell James Peloso if he doesn't leave me alone, then I'm going home. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I want to get out of here. Well, when you go in and you get arrested, that's a good way to scare all the protesters and put an end to the protest, isn't it? Right? And that's kind of the tactic, right? You co-opt it and you make it a political initiative, and then if it falls apart, you fundraise around it, which is exactly what they're doing, right? Okay, so, and again, I'm trying not to mind read. I haven't spoken to her. I will never speak to her ever again. But this is just kind of, what you can see based on the pattern of behavior of people and how they operate. And what they say, I don't care what people say. I care what they do. I watch their actions. And that's what I saw. All right. Jesse, yes, Tamara was a tool. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get too much into any of these people who are still facing criminal charges. Let their stuff go. Let them hopefully hopefully they'll all be found innocent, which I'm pretty confident they will, given that the ruling is. And then we'll potentially talk more and more about it. But I personally don't really want to talk about it too much. I don't want to talk about the convoy too much, to be entirely honest. I have other things that I want to focus on that are more important now that are happening today, right? Miss Cheryl, yes, yeah, you're probably right. Well, I know you're right. So fine. Okay, so this week I'm in the truck. I'm driving. Well, this week it was. No, I can't remember because I got home at 5:30 in the morning. It's delayed so long. When I was coming back from Baltimore, I'm driving back, and I got a message earlier that morning from a Twitter account and YouTube/Rumble account you should follow, called Super Spreaders. And super spreaders of information, they like to call themselves. They have been heavily involved in the NCI, very much invested in reputing much of the data around the cerveza sickness. They had been covering it from the very beginning. Good people. And, difference of perspectives. I mean, not that I question what they're saying about the cerveza sickness medicine, because I don't know. I kind of defer to people like that who've invested all their time, and I'm going to trust them. Not so much the experts, but the people who volunteered their own time that are trying to get to the truth. I got a lot of time for those people, so good on them. So they invited me to a Rumble YouTube channel after somebody, I guess affiliated with them, sent me a message saying, oh my God, you were right. The NCI has been co-opted just like you said it would. I'm never going to doubt you again. And I thought, well, you don't have to say it like that. I'm going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes too. So there's a very early episode of Hello Internet with CGP Grey and Brady Heron discussing being wrong on the internet and that it happens to all of us and it's inevitable, right? So anyways, they sent me a link and said, watch this video tonight. It was a live stream, so I was in the truck. Obviously I'm not watching it. I put it down on the dashboard, but I'm listening to it on my headset while I'm driving the truck, right? Like I would be listening to a podcast. And what has happened, and tell me if this sounds familiar. And I just want to preface this by saying I tried to warn people. I tried to warn them from the very beginning. Once I saw that NCI, I knew they were being co-opted. And a very interesting thing, the day of, no, it was the day before the POEC, when I just arrived in Ottawa. I went to the hotel, and I'm in a Starbucks talking to a supporter and my lawyer and stuff. We just met for coffee. And before my lawyer came, there was, who you all know, we'll talk more about him as time goes on. There was a table right next to me. And you know who was sitting at that table? Preston Manning was sitting right next to me. The irony. During the POEC, Preston Manning is sitting right next to me doing business deals. I didn't hear the particulars. I think he was just meeting with some of his staff or whatever. But in the Starbucks, and you're going to find out why that's funny over time. It's absolutely hysterical. But anyways, so the short version around the NCI was, this is what I understand from their live stream. A bunch of people that are not even activists, that were people that were frustrated with the lockdown measures, supported the convoy. They're not truckers. They're people that just all parts of society were fed up, wanted to do some digging. They each independently had been doing their own information, and they came together and said, we need to do something. We need to have, like, I guess one of them thought of a public inquiry or so, like, I don't really know. This is kind of, they inferred a lot of this. So this is my understanding. This is not word for word. But the suggestion is they came together, they started crowdfunding because they wanted to have some sort of inquiry, I guess a private inquiry or whatever, and look into the data. And look at this. Political Convoy shows up to set up a nonprofit for them. Wow. Sound familiar? So you got a bunch of community activists, or people are becoming community activists, starting a grassroots movement. They want to draw attention to everything around the NCI, everything around the cerveza sickness, and they set it all up. They started crowdfunding, and some good Samaritans of the political class showed up to help them and set up a nonprofit. And it had gone on for a while. There are a couple of strategies that were involved in discrediting the NCI while it was going on that I saw. We'll talk about those maybe another time, because much like the Freedom Convoy, all this stuff can get very, very complex. That's why they have multiple cutouts, multiple layers, multiple proxy organizations. So it becomes very difficult to piece it together. They use essentially bureaucracy and committees of subcommittees as a shield. So it's very difficult for people to find out the truth. But in the era of social media and instant telecommunications, where what do they call it? I remember they're teaching me. It's open source intelligence is probably more valuable than closed source or non-open source intelligence. I don't remember the terms they're using. But it's now easier for those of us to put it together, which is what these people, ironically, who ended up becoming the support group for the NCI, were trying to do. Okay? So I had warned a couple of them and told them this is one of them there, and then a bunch of people who were supporting it from the outside and who are very much engaged. I told them all, this has been co-opted. This is being controlled by the political class. They're going to build this out so they can launder as much political money as possible and pay them with your donations of $5 or $10, whatever, and then they're going to kill it. And because, the nature of it, they wanted to string it out over time, this would just be a longer process, which I didn't tell them because I didn't know how. I thought this NCI thing would last for like a month. And maybe that was their initial intent. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't want to mind reading. But once I saw Preston Manning there, I knew the scavengers were on deck looking for money, right? So I saw Preston. For those who don't know, and Chad can speak to this, Chad Eros, who was the treasurer of Freedom Corp, when they were trying to get him to stay quiet with, I don't know, what do you want to call it, a bribe? They, told him they were going to pay him for work, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, which he had been working on very hard on the Freedom Convoy. Chad interpreted as being paid for his time, which is probably what they inferred to him. They interpreted as we're bribing you to keep your mouth quiet. And good on Chad for not doing that and sticking to his principles. So when he had that meeting, and in that meeting, prior to them offering him money, he's talked publicly about this. He put on his Twitter a few times. In the meeting where he was being paid for his work, and I guess suggested to keep quiet and don't talk to BJ, the people in that meeting were Keith Wilson, Tamara Leach, and Preston Manning. Interesting. So let's backtrack, because I don't know if you heard that. The treasurer who was led to believe he's being paid for all the work that he did from the political side. And by the way, I don't need to tell you that politicians bribe a lot. I mean, that's the political side in this meeting was these people were trying to give $10,000 to Chad to keep his mouth quiet. And the people in that meeting trying to get Chad to keep his mouth quiet because they knew he had receipts were Tamara Leach, Keith Wilson, and Preston Manning. I didn't know Preston Manning was involved in any of this stuff during the convoy, but I did see him on Jordan Peterson's podcast, so that was weird, coming in and talking about the convoy. So I don't know. Anyways, so once I saw Preston Manning there, I knew the political scavengers were there looking for money and looking to pump all of you for as much donations as possible. Then I saw as a witness, remember I mentioned Veterans for Freedom? Then I saw Hurt Locker Tom, who I told, don't screw things up. Just leave the truckers alone, and told me, I'll just be a ghost. Nobody will know I was here. And then the next morning went and had a press conference all on his own and said some really stupid things that were not in line with the messaging of the convoy and got us all into a lot of trouble while he was meeting with the city. So Hurt Locker Tom was a witness at the NCI. Why? Well, he's a virology expert now? Like, I know he's a bullshit artist and a compulsive liar, but maybe he told them he's a virology. And when those sorts of people that lie for sport? That's him. He's one of those people. So why was Hurt Locker Tom a witness in the NCI? Now they're gonna shield it with, people he knew and blah blah blah. It's part of the military and blah blah blah. He's a computer programmer, but all this sort of stuff. But he also was the person who, according to Diverge Media, if you look at their articles, was helping to end the Freedom Convoy by trying to move our trucks and condense the protest by 75%, which would have ended the protest, which is what they tried to do. So why was that guy at the NCI? So now you have Preston Manning, who was in that meeting with Keith Wilson and Tamara Leach, and you have Hurt Locker Tom, the virology expert, on stand. Just like Freedom Convoy, right? It's the same thing. Like, this is why I talk about this stuff, because it's never going to end. This is the strategy that is used by the political class as a protection racket for the existing political structure and the lobbyists around them. And do you know why they do this? All these people help do these initiatives to help you, and we're going to get involved, and you're starting a community group. Why don't we join and help you, and all that sort of stuff? They're not helping you. They're all politicians. I talk about this in the Twitter Spaces frequently. Political Bitcoin Hour, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. By the way. They're not there to help you. They're politicians. They are there to keep their job. They don't want to get fired. They don't want a new political party because they will lose their jobs. And what I talk about in these political spaces all the time, this is really important. Most politicians are not elected. Think about that. They're not people who are elected. If you think the people who hold political power and influence are the people on the ballot, you're sorely mistaken. It's all the people behind the scenes. Many of them often get appointed. They'll work as strategists. They'll work as lobbyists. They'll work as staffers. Those are your politicians. And when we talk about accountability, obviously there's no accountability because those people aren't on the ballot. But the reason they work so hard to crush any of these grassroots movements is to protect the political party they're a part of, because they don't want to lose their job. If they lose an election, they lose their job, they have to go back on the job hunt again, and then they all scramble to try to go to different lobby and strategic management firms and whatever. It's a revolving door. They want to have to change their career every 3-4 years, which is the nature of politics. So it's systemic. So if you're looking for the incentives of people that want to ensure that they crush all the grassroots movements, the incentive is the people who work in this structure don't want to be unemployed. You can be unemployed. That's okay. They can lock you in your house for 2 years. The deputy leader of the Conservative Party can be a lobbyist for Walmart during COVID to ensure you are locked in your house, but Walmart stays open. That can happen, but they can't lose their jobs because they're special. It's not left versus right. It's top versus bottom. And the people at the top seem to have forgotten they're actually the bottom. They work for us, not the other way around. And God forbid people listen to me and don't buy into the stakeholder BS of BJ grifter and BJ did this and BJ did that. The reason they're doing that is because they're trying to protect their jobs. They don't want to get fired. They have a good gig as a chief of staff or as an EA or as a senior staffer or whatever. They don't want to lose their job. That's why they engage in all of this corruption. When you understand the players and you understand the incentives, it becomes very easy to understand the mechanics of the machine and how it all works. So, that's why they say bad things about me. Because I don't look to politics for a job. Unlike Fed McKenzie, I'm not looking for handouts for the political class to say stupid things about Jews so the Freedom Convoy looks stupid and Anti-Hate Network and all these other BS organizations have legitimacy. That's why they do it. They fund one side so the other side can exist, and both of them can plug each side of the political spectrum for donations with this brainwashing. And they don't like me to talk about this stuff. Because I, like I said, and all of you are not dependent upon this political structure for our income. And I never will be. That's why I will never run for office, despite many people telling me very, very kind things about I should do that and whatever. Like, thank you. Thank you, but I don't really... I would help the right people run for office, but myself, I don't see that time happening anytime soon, and I want to get on to my other stuff. I got other stuff that's more important than that. So just look at Airhead Freeland. Yeah, exactly. A perfect example. That's the other side of the coin. So that's why the legacy media, for example, will prop up these irrelevant morons, these blowhards, that just say really dumb and stupid things. You know, I don't want to throw the word conspiracy theory around because we know that most conspiracy theories are true. Well, not most, but many of them, right? But the reason the legacy media will prop up, what's that guy's name? Pat King, who says stupid things about Jews. Or Fed McKenzie, who says stupid things about Jews, to bait all of you. Because on the other side of that, there is the ADL and the Anti-Hate Network that the left side can be pumped for millions of donations as well. We're all being pumped for millions of dollars of donations for nothing, for things that don't exist. It's so frustrating. Are you starting to see how the mechanics work? Voice of reason. Does this all make sense? It says amen, amen, amen. Thanks, brother. I hope this is helpful to a lot of people. And this is why, I've spent the past year trying to reach Reasonable liberals. There are many reasonable liberals. I disagree with them a lot. I also disagree with some of the conservatives on a lot of things. I'm a very libertarian guy. That's probably why. But I can understand, both philosophies and both perspectives, and I can agree when I agree and disagree when I disagree, right? That's how it all used to be. I don't know about, I talked about this in a stream earlier this week, in a space, when me and Peter McCormick were on stage in a space together discussing this. Like, I don't know if you had this experience. I did, where my parents' friends or parents' families, extended family, would be over and talking about, life and politics and their mortgage and work and their kids and new things they found for their kids and stuff. And when they talk about politics for the few minutes they did, everybody would agree. Yeah, they agree and disagree about stuff. Once they started like, you know what you're talking about? Like, you don't know what you're talking about either. And they just move on. That's the way it used to be. We all used to be friends with each other when we have differing political perspectives. But the political apparatus that wants to pump all of you for donations and crowdfunding, while making crowdfunding for truckers who are there trying to bring us together illegal, because that is their domain. We're entering, no. The fundraising is just for the political parties. It ain't for some just random truckers who want to go out and speak on behalf of average Canadians. No. It's got to go to the political class. It has to go to the political class proxies. Rebel News, True North. All the money's got to be laundered through the political party proxies. Anti-hate network. They're all the same, the two sides of the same coin. But if you stand up and you find a cause like the NCI, and you want to raise money to shed light on everything that went on, well, Political Convoy is going to show up and help you set up a non-profit for fundraising. By the way, why is everybody into non-profit? I'm not a communist. I have no problem with profit. Why are all these people communists that everything's got to be non-profit? You put in work, you do the energy, you put in the energy, you do the work, you build something, yeah, you should be able to profit of it. That's what's called being a free marketeer, right? But all these people are communists. It's crazy. Everything's got to be a non-profit. It's so funny. And that brings me to the end of what happened to the NCI. This is what they've inferred from their live stream. Check it out, Super Spreaders. It's very interesting to listen to this whole conversation. And look, I don't agree with everything. I don't disagree with everything. There's always, some balance, that Venn diagram of a lot of things we have in common, right? So, but go watch this, because you can see the process as people are discovering what I knew what was going on in the Freedom Convoy, but I couldn't see the chessboard, so I couldn't see all the players. But everybody else around me couldn't see what's going on because this was new to me. Watch that stream, and you're going to see people who are in the process of discovering how this strategy works and worked to screw them, just like it screwed the Freedom Convoy. So what's happened now, apparently, is a support group, which were the people running the NCI who started it. They were the volunteers. And the nonprofit, which was just the fundraising mechanism, sound familiar? Just the fundraising mechanism for the NCI. All of a sudden, the people on the board, it's two people on the board of the nonprofit, turned against the volunteers who started it, now control all their social media, control everything, and are trying to shut it down. And do you know why they're trying to shut it down? I can tell you exactly why. Jesse, do you know why? Tinker, do you know why they're trying to shut it down? The reason they're trying to shut it down is very simple. 3 weeks ago, the Conservative Party of Canada started canvassing for an election. That's right. We're likely going to have, unless something happens, we're likely going to have an election this year. My guess, it depends on the appeal on the Mosley ruling, I'm pretty sure. It depends on how long that appeal is. But if they can stretch it out until after Labor Day, you would see them call an election, and we would be at the polls probably in November. That's why they shut down the NCI. The Conservative Party, who is, well, all the parties, not just them, I shouldn't blame them. All the parties that are obsessed with, we need to control the messaging. They can't have this NCI messaging going on without it being under control. It needs to be shut down because they always campaign from the spreadsheet, right? We got to just talk about inflation and how Justin Trudeau has destroyed Canada, keep it all vague claims so we can win the election, which I happen to agree with. Things aren't going to get better under the Conservative Party, but they'll slow down. Crazy Town, I think, will be dialed back a little bit, which is the first step in what we need. And I'm not saying I'm not voting, by the way. I've made that very clear. I'm not voting this election, so I'm going to talk openly and honestly about all the parties. But that's why they want to shut down the NCI. They can't have this messaging going on, talking about some of the corruption that happened, because the Conservative parties, provincial parties, were all involved in the lockdowns. It was Doug Ford's party that issued the COVID passports and lockdown. Those were not liberals. Those were conservatives. So like they like to say during COVID, they're all in it together, right? Well, they feel they don't have success in the upcoming election if there is this NCI narrative that continues to promulgate online, just like the Freedom Convoy. That's why they can't have people like myself and others talking about the Freedom Convoy perpetually and Diverge Media and explaining to you what went on. And that's why you see the whisper campaigns, the private messages in groups saying, oh, BJ's a Fed, or whatever they say about me, or attacking me and others, because I am not a stakeholder. And I never will be. So, there you go. VJ, is it afternoon yet? Well, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Cheryl. We don't have anyone good to vote in. No, we don't. And I have a solution for that in the future, in the near future. But the first thing that has to happen is the Conservatives. We need to get Trudeau out of office. Everybody knows that. It doesn't matter where you are in the spectrum. Even liberals at this point know they need to get rid of him. So we need to get rid of him first, and then once he gets rid of him, then we can focus on real change. But that's another issue, another series of tactics that I'll discuss this on another live stream. I'm already getting a call for my meeting that I'm 15 minutes late for. Hold on, brother. I'll be there in a couple of minutes. So I'm going to give you one little white pill before I finish, because I told you we got to do a white pill every time we talk about this stuff. And if you have any questions, send them to me on Twitter, send me a DM, all that sort of stuff. Beth says, you're making me skeptical of the whole thing. Well, you should be skeptical and reasonable at the same time, right? There are good people. Most of us are good people. But it's always the small group of garbage that come in and ruin everything for everybody else, which is what happened during Freedom Convoy and is now in the process of happening around the NCI as the political class tries to co-opt it. I mean, they co-opted it from the very beginning. And remind me next stream, I'm going to tell you the one specific example when I saw that somebody sent me a message saying, wow, you were right, it was co-opted. And remind me next time and I'll talk about it. All right, so the one white pill. What's the one white pill for today? It's February 3rd, and if you are in Canada, it's freezing right now. But you know what that means? That means that winter's almost over. The summer and the spring are just around the corner. And in a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks from now, you'll start thinking about summer and planning for the summer and the springtime. Is that not a white pill, right? Having something positive and good to look forward to in the future. So we're almost there. That's a small group of garbage take over and take over. Oh, okay, I think there's a spelling, the typo there. Take over the mic and talk louder so the truth is silenced. Well, that's exactly what they do. That's why they had the stakeholder document, which outlined who all the stakeholders were and told them how they're going to talk about the Freedom Convoy. Because God forbid some people start talking honestly about what happened to us to ensure this sort of thing doesn't happen again in the future. So we're getting there. VJ still in exile in Mexico, no plans to come back. Estoy muy celoso porque me encanta México mucho y la clima, la cultura, y mi corazón es en México también. Entonces, suerte y cuídate mucho en México porque es un poquito peligroso en este momento en algunas partes de México, pero me encanta la gente allá. So good luck in Mexico. And I think that's it for the day. And VJ, let me know how things are. There is a possibility I may be in Mexico soon. There's a bunch of things, a bunch of trips I got to plan right now, and Mexico is actually on the list. So I will just a speaking engagement, as you may or may not know. So that's it. All right. I am super late. I'm started late, and I'm going to start my meeting late. I love you all. Thank you for joining. And whatever you do, if people are telling you, oh, I'm joining a group to sue the government, and we're going to make millions of dollars, tell them to stop. Don't be played again. They played you during the Freedom Convoy. Don't let them exploit you a second time. I'll have more to talk